Hey there, good people. It's a Crippled Critic, and this week I want to talk about the first person shooter Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus. Wolfenstein II is a first person shooter developed by MachineGames and published by Bethesda. It was released on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and is even being released on Nintendo Switch this year. I'm reviewing the PC version. The game takes place in an alternate history in 1961, where Germany won World War II. You'll play as B.J. Blazkowicz, a member of the resistance bent on killing Nazis and taking back America. Wolfenstein is actually a long-running series that's been rebooted several times over the years. Wolfenstein 3D was released in 1992 for MS-DOS, and it's known for popularizing the first-person shooter genre. But many gamers may not know that the series goes back even further to 1981 with Castle Wolfenstein for the Apple II. Many credit Castle Wolfenstein as being one of the first games to introduce stealth mechanics. Anyway, Wolfenstein II: The New Colossus is technically a sequel to the last rebooted game, Wolfenstein: The New Order, but don't worry. At the beginning of the game, there's a lengthy recap you can watch that basically catches you up on what happened in the last game. Despite this game looking like it was screaming made in America, it was actually made by Swedish company MachineGames. Creative director and writer Jens Mathias was quoted saying he was intrigued by the juxtaposition of America, which was founded on the idea of freedom, to be under totalitarian control in this game. He also wanted players to explore places like diners and parades, as they were iconic American locations and events of the 1960s. I've heard that Wolfenstein 2 attracted some controversy after its release with some conservatives. The development team has said on several occasions that the game was never intended to be a commentary on contemporary politics, other than a few jokes here and there. Although it does look like Bethesda's marketing team may have adopted a few political slogans to use as an advertising tool for the game. Still, I don't see anything wrong with saying Nazis are bad. Anyway, let's get into the controls of the game. So I can't speak for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions of Wolfenstein 2, but on the PC version, there are a lot of great accessibility options for disabled gamers. It's fully customizable, so every action can be customized, including things like melee weapon, fire, throw grenade, jump, crouch. It can all be remapped to the keyboard or even the mouse buttons. The mouse can be changed for the camera controls, and there are certain buttons that have toggle features you can turn on, like sprint. You also have aim assist available to help you direct your firing closer to enemies. It's not a perfect function that doesn't really lock onto enemies, but it does help drift your bullets closer to them. With first-person shooters on the PC, I usually play with a game controller, because more often than not, first-person shooters make you press more buttons, and this way I can customize it how I like. Thankfully, there's controller support for the game on PC. The controller mechanics work pretty smoothly too. I didn't notice any bugs, delays when I pressed buttons. So Wolfenstein 2 plays like a run and gun shooter, so that means you're usually ridiculously overpowered. You can dual wield most weapons, and the best part is carrying these hilariously powerful weapons, like my favorite, the laser gun. And these kind of weapons let you take down enemies pretty quickly. Despite all this, the game is still very fast-paced, and it doesn't take much to get overwhelmed by large amounts of Nazi soldiers. That's why I recommend disabled gamers with fine motor skill impairments play Wolfenstein 2 on the easiest difficulty. There's lots of health and armor given to you on very easy mode. I don't see many problems for gamers with fine motor skill impairments if you play it on this mode. There's one last thing I want to mention about the combat of Wolfenstein 2, in particular a specific level in the game. Near the beginning of the game, the main character, B.J. Blazkowicz, is severely injured from a bomb blast and is confined to a wheelchair. Now most of the time when a game does this, it's simply a plot device to keep the player from getting to a certain area in the game, or some kind of adversity for the character to get over, but only shown in cutscene form. Not in Wolfenstein 2. Holy crap, you can be a badass in a wheelchair. You may remember I've shown footage of this in other videos, and that's because it was such an awesome moment to play for me. It was great just because I got to play as someone in a wheelchair, but not just that. Also, I've never seen a game do something like that before. I have a lot more to say about it, but I think I'll wait and put it in a separate video. It was a pretty significant thing for me though, and it stayed with me well after I played the game and finished it. Good on ya, MachineGames. Getting back to accessibility, on the visual side of things, there are several accessibility options available for gamers with visual impairments. There's a brightness slider you can raise and lower. You can also alter the resolution in the game to put it in windowed mode. I took advantage of this. I was also impressed to find that Wolfenstein II had a separate colorblind mode you can turn on in the options menu, changing certain colors to make colorblind players have an easier time than they would have. For gamers with hearing impairments, Wolfenstein II has subtitles throughout the game, including background chatter. The only small gripe I had was that the subtitles were a little too small. Deaf players, and even gamers with visual impairments, may have some trouble reading the subtitles. There's no way to make them bigger, too. The soundtrack in Wolfenstein II is seriously intense. You'd be surprised how dramatic the music can be for serious moments in the game, and then jump right into hard rock music to pump you up for the next battle. I'll be honest, there may be a chance gamers with hearing impairments could lose something when it comes to the game's presentation. However, it makes up for it for the cast of crazy characters. The story for Wolfenstein II is pretty straightforward. Kill Nazis and take back America. The characters are actually pretty fun and interesting though, and it has one of the scariest villains I've ever seen in a video game.
Übermacht den Meister! Look at this! How strange! One moment she was here, and now she's gone. Were these eyes ever filled with a lover's gaze? Do you think?
I've heard complaints from people who played the last game that in Wolfenstein 2 it stopped taking itself seriously and became really over the top. And yeah, it is funny, there's plenty of jokes, but the game doesn't shy away from dark subject matter and it doesn't take it lightly. On the surface, Wolfenstein 2 looks a lot like those shocking, violent movies, Machete but with Nazis, but I would compare it closer to Inglourious Bastards. Still going for that revisionist history exploitation style, but it knows when to be serious. The game constantly shows you all the terrible things the Nazis are doing to the country, and it makes a point to show you all the marginalized people who are suffering because of them.
Sophia, he in there?
No,
Sophia, out of my way!
he does not deserve this. You know he does not.
Don't bullshit me. I saw him with her.
He's young. He likes her. He does not know better.
He knows goddamn well not to spend time with some dirty little nigger girl.
I will not let you hurt my son. Not anymore.
You have no idea what it's like to suffer like I do.
Some gamers might be surprised about the disturbing content in the game, and I'm not just talking about the violence and blood. Wolfenstein 2 is definitely not for the faint of heart, but if you're into it, it'd be a freaking blast. You guys probably know by now that I'm not usually into first-person shooters. More often than not, those type of games don't have anything to offer me that I haven't seen before, and the controls are usually too difficult. But not Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus. The remappable combat controls will definitely help gamers with fine motor skill impairments play the game, and I can't say enough how incredible a feeling it is taking down Nazis in a wheelchair. I really hope the developers understand what they did for disabled gamers. Like I said, more on that in another video. One thing is for sure, any disabled gamer in a wheelchair will want to experience Wolfenstein 2. Alright guys, what do you think of Wolfenstein 2? Do you think the combat's pretty fun? How about killing Nazis? Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you later.